Good evening and welcome to another edition of Tok Piksa. 12 prisoners were shot dead on the 25th of February after an escape from Buimo Prison in Lae. There are now calls for a coronial inquest into the deaths of the prisoners. Over the past week, EMTV has been following the story in Lae, and Scott Weiner looks at the week as it unfolded.
It's been a hectic week for law enforcement agencies in Lae City. On Thursday last week, 12 prisoners were shot and killed after the biggest prison escape in 2 years. As the bodies were brought into the Angao Hospital morgue and the word spread on social media, questions began to be asked about the reasons for the escape. For many inside the CS establishment, the reasons were obvious and the alarms had been raised, but little had been done to prevent the escape.
What we need now is an intervention, they said to me.
On the morning of the 25th of February, the day of the escape, Lae MP Lujaya Khoza met with the Buimo Prison Administration to discuss funding for one of their biggest needs, a perimeter fence.
So the rest of the information that I was getting that morning was fears being spoken out if we didn't get help soon. So I said, okay, what is the priority now? I asked the superintendent in the presence of these 4 gentlemen, what is the priority for you now? Because as I'm hearing it, I said, I think we need to get that perimeter fence up right around the whole area. So do you already have a service provider for this? Have you already seen some people to help you?
We have the main high security compound, the medium security compound, the juveniles, the MSU, and the female wing, but they're all scattered. And there is no boundary fence or perimeter fence surrounding all those different sections of the prison.
So we kind of agreed on these things, and then they mentioned also that food difficulty of feeding all these wage court people, and the possibility, they said, if we don't get this under control quickly, the fact that these people are hungry, the fact that they're not sleeping properly, these are reasons enough to come and test that weak area in the fencing and break out. So we were already talking about the possibilities. When I left, what happened later on behind me was not surprising.
The prison needs several layers of security fencing. The inner compound is the core of the security confinement in Buimo. Outside the inner confinement, there has to be fencing that surrounds the entire compound to reduce the risk of escape.
When there is an escape in one of those different units, they are quickly out of the institution because there is no boundary fence. There is just a compound fence. It is a very big concern for the prison here because of the manpower that we have. We have a very small manpower strength here at Buimo, and there is these different sections of the prison that has to be properly, securely managed by the officers.
Between June and July 2015, there were 2 successive prison breaks. In June, 55 convicted prisoners and prisoners on remand broke out of Buimo during a heavy downpour. 1 month later, 11 juveniles escaped from the juvenile holding cell. A 2015 investigation report presented to then Commissioner Michael Waipo provided a detailed analysis of the problem within Buimo Prison. It showed how easy it is for juveniles to undo the locks at the main prison and recommended the need for a perimeter fence to reduce the risk of escape.
You can't equate Buimo jail with all the other jails like Bomana and wherever. Buimo jail is the biggest in the country. It is holding 700 plus prisoners. Where else would they have this kind of number? And so we demand and we are due for the attention that the government should be giving us.
Whatever those reasons are, because it involves a lot of people, it must have taken quite a long time for the tension and the pressure to build up and for the prisoners to work themselves mentally up to a point where they've had enough to launch a breakout.
Inside the prison, there are even bigger concerns. On a list provided by the Buimo Jail Command, there are 200 prisoners held in remand. These are prisoners who have not even been sentenced. Some have not appeared before a judge for close to a decade. There are at least 5 cases that need government attention. One of the prisoners has been held in remand for 9 years, another 4 for 8 years. There are a lot more who have spent up to 3 years just waiting for a trial.
Overcrowding, only having 1 meal or 2 meals a day now because we don't have enough money to feed them there. And it's already a human rights problem. I really want that Human Rights Commission that is there in waiting to be passed on the floor of Parliament, to have teeth given to it, and we really need to start investigating because, you know, we're dealing with a limited number of CIS personnel. They're frustrated too, and, you know, 200 police, again, we still have that number in Morobe, in Lae District, and, you know, they're frustrated as well. So when you have that element of frustration, lack of support on all levels, of course you'll have human rights abuse cases.
When there is not enough investigation or the cases are not being heard, there is an issue of overcrowding come into play. And we also have the courts, but over the years we have been addressing this, and as I speak now here in Bomana, we have a separate judge to dispose remedy cases, and this will be replicated to other institutions where court case will be held at the institution.
After more than 5 years, there appears to be some movement within government circles. On Friday, the CS Commissioner, Bernard Nepo, said steps are being taken to review the situation and improve the holding capacity of Buimo after the CS management were prompted by the recent breakout.
This a complicated issue where court is on jurisdiction, and for us at CS, we just look after them while they are waiting for their court cases to be heard. And so you'll find that there are some prisoners wait at the institution for a maximum of 7 or 8 years, and that is not good enough. So we are now trying to reduce that lengthy period by addressing the issue with the courts and police, so that we can bring the lengthy period down to at least a maximum of a year or two.
Welcome back to Tok Piksa. Lae's recurring problem of homebrew extends far beyond its production, sales, and consumption. The problem is also directly related to socio-economic areas, such as the country's unemployment rate and the lack of business opportunities for Papua New Guineans. A disturbing trend now is that amongst young men, an increasing number of women are being arrested for producing and selling the illegal alcohol.
In these pictures taken on the 18th of February, a mother of two was caught by police distilling illegal alcohol at her backyard in Kamkumung. Homebrew, commonly known as steam, is made by a simple distillation process that happens after fermenting coconut juice and baking yeast for 3 to 4 days. When we wanted to interview her, police withheld her identity. But she told police that she was brewing the illegal alcohol to sell and make money to buy food and pay for school fees. She and her husband don't have jobs. Police dismantled and confiscated the equipment she used to cook the steam. An old cylinder, a 2-burner gas stove, and a full gas cylinder.
I mean, the government is driving the SME drive, right? And if people had opportunities to make money, earn a living in an honest way, I don't think they would be going into homebrew.
Women's advocate and entrepreneur Sarah Howder-Todd says people need economic empowerment from all levels of government.
So what is the solution to that? One of them as a businesswoman is create employment for them. If you cannot create employment, then create opportunities for them to create wealth for themselves. That's what we want. That is the solution that I'm saying.
The Lae District Administration is partnering with different stakeholders to deal with the problem. Women's groups and churches are getting involved.
We've said through the body of Christ we're going to build these houses for them. But first of all, Olimaskisimbingman must change, mindset change must come up, and training, skills training, that kind of thing. So when
Lae
we
MP
start in
Lojai
these
Kausa
areas,
says
there
to
is a
take
way.
away steam from communities would mean giving alternative income sources to those who distill and sell.
There is a way. These youths are earning an income already, yeah, by the homebrew. This is an income source. If you're going to take away the homebrew, you're cutting off an income source and a livelihood. How do we take that away, but we translate it to another source of income that they can earn?
I think this issue in 20 years' time, it will be still around. How we deal with it now, or how we learn how to deal with it, and that will be the issue of our current situation. Now, I can only
Deputy Leader of the Opposition and Bulolo MP Sem Basil, who also has similar problems in his district, says it's a task that should be shared by national government bodies.
I don't really have a remedy to this situation, but as one of the parliamentarians, I can admit that it is rife in our backyard. It's happening, but we have to try our best to mitigate those issues. For my district, once the liquor ban was lifted, everybody went back to beer, and the number of producing homemade alcohol dropped. I won't say that it will go forever, but it will drop, and it will still remain an issue for us, many years down the track.
The Lae District has indicated plans to help those who know how to distill steam to use the skills to brew something more legal.
Again, through the Body of Christ Food Security Program, we're already dropped off 144 bags at the Miles Body of Christ to have distributed to the youths, to the women's group, to begin to have backyard gardens and grow food, because Papua New Guinea will need food. The drought season goes for 24 months, so that's another intervention.
But they'll need support from all levels of government, including agencies tasked to deal with the drug offenders.
And to date now, Narcotics Board is not performing its functions, and one of its functions is to look at rehabilitation of drunkards, and also to make sure that homebrew product is being minimized by working together with liquor licensing boards and provincial governments and SP Brewery for that instance.
The Morobe Provincial Government believes that the problem is slowly improving. Governor Kelly Naru says the Provincial Executive Council will support the police with funding.
Province-wise, generally we have had a decline in instances of illegal homebrew and other law and order problems.
Lae City has on many occasions been described as the industrial hub of Papua New Guinea. Its economic growth has been rapid over the last 10 years. Billions of kina have been pumped into Lae City. A new tidal basin, road infrastructure around the city has been improved, and a 4-lane highway is being built. But with all the growth is recurring serious crimes that have tainted the image of Lae. In October last year, an ethnic clash in settlements around the Boundary Road area behind Kapyak Street. 4 people were killed and over 50 houses were burnt down, displacing many women and children. Steam was blamed for the clash because authorities had failed to contain it.
The mothers and the young girls are threat to the homebrew, especially the Payawara, also even the settlements are becoming very habit of this kind something osem marijuana na homebrew. Woklo bagarapin wall settlement young from man society woklo get into these activities. All woklo give him threat lol mama na all young black girl no wokabat lol.
9 out of 10 incidences reported to Lae Police daily is a direct result of steam consumption.
You're watching Tok Piksa. This week, the country farewells State Minister, the late Stephen Pirika Kama. The late Kama was the member for South Bougainville in the Autonomous Region of Bougainville and State Minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters. His story is one of being influential and the tale of a silent achiever. Our journalist Fabian Hakalits with this story now about the life of the late Stephen Pirika Kama.
And he replied, looking into my eyes, I love you, dear Pai. As I was walking out the door, you called again saying, I love you, Pai. Not knowing this were gonna be your last words to me.
Words cannot fully describe a man who has touched the lives of people in all walks of life, who lived a simple life and gave his life to serve his people and the state. And that's the late Stephen Pirika Kama, who was the member for South Bougainville, Bougainville Affairs Minister and then Minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters. Daughter Pamela on behalf of her only brother Michael and mother Anna thank God for the life of their father.
Caring, generous, but most of all, you were honest and hardworking. That's what we all admired about you. You had a funny side also, but Dad, you're a fighter. And a survivor. You fought to the end. I will miss our laughs, your smile, but most of all we will miss you dearly. My hero, my fighter, my role model, may you rest in eternal peace.
Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea Peter O'Neill described the late State Minister as a man of caliber. Paying his last respects at the state funeral in Port Moresby on March 1, 2016, the Prime Minister said the late Kama served Papua New Guinea with pride, loyalty and commitment as a minister and member of parliament.
Today we mourn this loss of this leader in our country, a man of peace, a man of highest integrity, an honest man. But I want to assure you that his work will not be forgotten. His legacy will live on, and it will live on through the generations. Let me take this opportunity again in thanking you, the family of late Stephen Kama, for sharing him with Papua New Guinea and making sure that he is not forgotten.
Stephen Pirika Kama was a simple Bougainvillian from CY, raised in the village, but was determined with the goal to be successful in life. And he later became a successful businessman, owning the PNG Pest Control Company before joining politics in 2008. The Prime Minister said the late Kama was proactive with his ministerial duties, building bridges that strengthened dialogue between the national and the autonomous Bougainville governments, considering its sensitivity.
Bougainville Affairs Ministry is not an easy ministry, it's a sensitive ministry. It needed someone who was wise and capable and who understood the issues about Bougainville and how it relates to Papua New Guinea. And Minister Kama managed his responsibilities very well. He managed it in a very careful way. He was able to communicate with people better, share their views and opinions, respecting them as well. He was a genuine and trusted leader who was able to keep his words and people were able to believe him. You have restoration of services, like direct flights now to the Europa Air. Restoration of state-owned enterprises and their services, banking, port services, PNG Power, MVIL, and the list continues to go, PNG Post. Those services were restored because of the work that Minister Kama did. And it is to his credit that we must acknowledge that his contribution cannot be taken lightly. His legacy will be remembered from generations to come when we continue to build on the work that he has done.
The late Kama was a character of his own. Leader of the United Resource Party, William Duma said, and was always vocal about Bougainville issues.
As a result of Stephen Kama's leadership in that ministry, the relationship between our people of Bougainville and Papua New Guinea has come closer and closer. And Stephen Kama was a true believer in a united Papua New Guinea. He fought for the people of Bougainville. At every opportunity he got, he kept on telling me and reminding us about Bougainville.
On March 2, body of the late state minister was flown home to the Autonomous Region of Bougainville. At the Boca airport, the casket was then handed over to the Autonomous Bougainville government by the National Government Speaker, Theo Zurino. It was received by the Autonomous Bougainville government President, Chief John Momis. President Momis paid his last respects and described the late Kama as man with few words and action, and his loss is irreplaceable. As a state minister, he ensured Bougainville was never forgotten in decision making at the national level because he believed in change. The casket was then taken to the Bougainville House of Representatives chamber, viewed by ABG members and senior public servants. ABG Speaker Simon Pentanu said Kama's death was a great loss to Bougainville, especially at this time when Bougainville is chartering its way forward to referendum.
Most of all, we have lost a Bougainvillean leader, a proud carrier of our mantle at the national political level. Stephen Kama is a big loss to Bougainville at a time when we can least afford to lose our elected leaders. This House extends its deepest sympathy and condolence to the family of the late Stephen Kama.
The casket was then flown to Kieta and uplifted on a chopper to Rabaulu village in CY, South Bougainville. The late national parliamentarian was laid to rest on March 4. The late Stephen Pirke Kama passed away in Philippines at age 54 while seeking medical treatment after suffering from chronic kidney failure and diabetes. May your soul rest in eternal peace, lest we forget.
And that ends Tok Piksa for tonight. Thank you for watching. You can catch a replay of tonight's show this Wednesday evening. And until we do this again next Sunday, I'm Neville Choi, and this has been Tok Piksa.